pretty good.
That's, oh, I don't know.
I'm
I
a
don't know why you have to
natural-born
bring almond
host.
milk into it. That's disgusting.
Well, yeah, and apparently it murders bees, so it's good to know.
Really? Okay, well, that's an upside.
Yeah, so it's good to know. So how are you?
Oh, I'm all right. I think I'm still asleep. No, I'm good.
It's been quite a week, huh?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's funny though, you say it's been quite a week, and it's only because we're too online that we know it's been quite a week. People who are smart enough to stay off social media have no idea that the week has been this way.
Do you think? I think people are I think they're seeing a lot of this stuff from online bleed into real life and have no fucking idea what's going on. Or are you...
Maybe, but I mean, that's the point, isn't it? Most people don't know. They see it, and it's just baffling to them that
it's all downwind.
They see things that they don't even understand why the subject exists. And
I don't know why most of these subjects exist. And I am online. Do you ever sit back and go, look, these debates, like halfway through, you find yourself arguing something that's it's fucking retarded. And you go, yes. This was established. Why am I arguing with a flat earther?
I have... Sometimes I think back to the days, because I can still remember not being online. Yeah. And I think back then, I didn't really know what any of my friends thought about almost anything.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel compelled to tell them what I thought about anything. And now I do. I see so many opinions, and I'm like, it's sometimes I can refrain from offering my take on something, but it's like a physical pain to do that. It's so hard to not say what you think about every single thing you see, and that's like a brain disease that we all have now.
Yeah,
because it doesn't matter. Like there are so many times when I stop and suddenly become so intensely aware that although I think my contribution to the debate will be very, very sophisticated and wise, it still won't matter to anyone. And I think, why am I even bothering to involve myself in the world?
I think a lot of people are getting to that point. Like this week, I committed to being better. And it lasted 3 hours. But then I committed to being better again.
But being better is hard.
It is hard.
And it's a process.
Yeah. And I was actually, I don't know if you saw, but I posted a thing about Charlotte Dawson, like from 2012, where I realized that this wasn't, that there's, that there's a person behind the screen, like early on. And I've been reflecting a lot on that. I don't know why, but she just keeps popping up in my head as sort of the inevitable conclusion to a lot of this stuff. And it's just fucking toxic and wrong. Like all this bullying. There was a point where it used to be good-natured, and it used to, I don't know. I've been a troll my whole life. And since I was 15 years old, I've been a troll, and I'm turning around as an old troll going, this is not right. This is not right.
But I mean, there's trolling and trolling, isn't it? There's making fun. There's needling some politician who you think is an idiot. And there's just vicious, savage, brutal, continuing abuse.
Yeah.
Like I see things by you see things that you think are stupid on Twitter, and maybe you make a snarky comment.
Yeah.
But it doesn't occur to me to just keep on and on at them.
No.
Let alone to, tell them to kill themselves.
Yeah.
It's like...
that's where it's changed.
It's a savage thing, and, what happened to Charlotte was so awful, and there was a thought that maybe that might bring some people to their senses, but things like that never change anything, because people still persist with the idea that there are good and bad people, and that for bad people anything goes.
Yeah.
And so the person behind the keyboard can be separated into the deserving or the undeserving. You know, the idea that some people just deserve that abuse. They deserve, you know, cancel culture says that some people deserve to lose their jobs.
Yeah.
And their livelihood. Some people deserve to go through life being unable to get a job.
Yeah.
I struggle with the idea that even pretty awful, obnoxious people who I hate should be annihilated. You know.
Yeah.
But that's the idea. But the trouble is, of course, the worst people never do get annihilated by these things because
they're leading it.
But even the worst enemies, you know, if you think about, you know, the so-called left progressive folks, their worst enemies are people, you know, writing for news limited papers and going on Sky News and such. Those people are never the ones who are hurt by online pylons. The ones who are actually hurt are the ones who are much closer to our own side.
Yeah.
Because it's them who can have their lives ruined by the accusation that they're impure. The really awful far right people, they don't care.
No.
And the people who provide them with their livelihood don't care. So it's
this purity shit is the thing that's
driving the most. Yeah, the people who suffer the most are the people who are good, decent people who are trying to be the best they can, but who slip up in some way.
Who just make the mistake of being honest and speaking truth. I mean, that's what I think I've seen this last... Like, I remember, I mean, about talking to Charlotte a couple of times, trying to get it to her that they're not mocking you. They're not talking to you, Charlotte, the person. They're talking to you, Charlotte, the person on TV.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, but I've got, you know, we've all gone through this, right? Our generation particularly, we're going, fuck, I'm a persona now. Like, I've had to grow up and figure out what my brand is and all this stupid stuff, right? But I think that there's come a tipping point with this stuff where I think we just need to say, look, this isn't okay. This stuff is not okay. And the thing that's frustrating me the last few weeks, because we're sitting in this crazy pressure cooker that's just amplifying all of this like 100 times, is that, first of all, the cancel cycle is now multiple times per day. So it's gone from once a year to once a month to once a week to now, you know, like I can't even go offline for an hour without seeing something else like being sacrificed, right, or someone else. But there appears to be no consequences for that kind of behavior. If anything, it seems to actually benefit you, right, especially in comedy and stuff.
Absolutely.
Right? Absolutely. Where I'm seeing some nasty, nasty shit. And it's people who bully. I mean, what happened to Michelle Laurie this week? I don't know if you don't want to talk about that. But, you know, like, it's fucking revolting. Like, anybody who does this stuff and thinks that they're the good guys, right?
Yeah, it is bad. And here's the thing: I would like to talk about Michelle Laurie for a minute, because Michelle Laurie is a friend of mine. And first of all, I want to make the point that I believe Michelle's side of the story. And no matter what people want to sort of snigger about, you know, people claiming they got hacked, it's actually perfectly plausible that someone has made multiple admins of an official page. And that one of them has posted something off their own bat. She's a friend of mine. She is a very honest person. I don't think she's lying about what happened. And most of all, I know from every interaction I've ever had with her and everything I've ever seen her say in public and in private, that what was posted in the offending Facebook post is not something that she actually thinks.
Well, so no, I haven't seen any evidence to that, even not being a friend, just someone who follows her.
And exactly, anyone who would. Now, having said that, even if you assume that that post was her and that she did what she's accused of. The pylon and the abuse is utterly insane. And it's done by people who believe they are advancing the cause of equality and justice, or who have convinced themselves.
Do you think that that's the case, or do you think that the comedy industry in this country is so small that everybody, it's Lord of the Flies?
I think that there are people in the comedy industry who are very, very aware that there is a career path that involves thinking and saying the right things as opposed to trying to be as funny as you can be. And that having the right views can assist you career-wise. And that one of the best ways to demonstrate that you have the right views
is to tear down someone.
Attack someone who you see as having the wrong views, and you build your profile that way.
Yeah.
And I won't name names, but there are people who are doing that.
They're certainly riding a wave at the moment in the current climate.
What they do is encourage a mob.
Yeah.
And the mob believes in their own righteousness, and the people themselves probably believe in their own righteousness. They probably think it's fine for me to do this because, you know, I'm good, they're bad.
Yeah. She can take it. She can take it. I'm arguing with the character, not the person. She gets that it's a joke, you know, and I think that, you know, like that seems like a bit of a gaslighting move. And I've reflected so much on my own behavior over the years with the internet, right? I'm a fucking grandma with this shit. Okay, you know, like I've been both dogpiler and dogpiley and, you know, all of those things. And I've gone through all of this. And, you know, it's just different now. It's not fun anymore.
No.
You get what I mean? Like there's a point where it's like, I know that it just is inarticulate. There's no real, it's just not fun anymore. And we've had friends, you know, or in my case, acquaintances and friends who have hurt themselves, killed themselves because of exactly this behavior, and people go, they still have their careers. And I'm not saying cancel them. I'm saying stopping creating a culture where the horrible people get, you know, like elevated for this stuff. Like we need a new code.
The thing, you know, if someone, I know for a fact that tomorrow, if someone is subjected to a dog pile on the internet tomorrow and ends up taking their life because of it, that the people who led the attacks are going to say something along the lines of course it's a tragedy, but they brought it on themselves.
Yeah, they shouldn't have said that.
And we can't ignore the bigger issue. To me, abuse and bullying is an issue worth looking at. And I had this thought, you know, because Samantha Armitage, who is, you know, being in trouble now because of things she's done on a show previously, has been receiving some unbelievably abusive messages that actually reference Charlotte Dawson, tell her she deserves to be murdered, that she deserves to be raped, that she should just kill herself now. And people who think themselves on the side of social justice think that it's fair enough that she should receive those messages. And I was thinking my automatic response to that was to condemn the messages, but here's the way I instinctively thought of it. I thought what I would normally say would be, you know, I don't like Sam Armitage. I think she's dreadful. I dislike her persona. I dislike her work. I think what she's really damaging to the culture, and I disagree with almost everything she stands for. But
that's like I love my kids' butt, isn't
and
it?
then I realised I don't want to do that anymore.
No.
If I want to criticise Sam Armitage when she does something wrong, I'll do it when she does something wrong. When something like this happens, I have to stand completely against the abusers and the bullies, and I'm not going to give them cover by prefacing it with these qualifications to let them know, oh, I'm really on your side.
Don't come after me.
No, I'm not on your side. If you're going to behave like this, I'm not on your side.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to offer you little placatory sops to say, oh, in condemning you, let me just make it clear that I get your point.
Yeah.
No, if you're going to act like that, you don't have a point, and you forfeited the right for anyone to listen to your point of view because you are behaving disgustingly.
Yeah. I think that,
and I shouldn't have to make clear what I believe about anything that Sam Armitage has done in the past. And this applies to anyone at all. I shouldn't have to make clear my social justice credentials before I call out appalling behaviour by people. Because being a bully is being a bully, no matter who you're bullying.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to do that anymore.
And it's just, I think you and I have both fallen afoul of this fucking pack. More and more people, they just keep alienating more and more people, and somehow inexplicably keep progressing, right? And being propped up. And at some point, I think everyone just needs to turn around and go, just enough. Like for me, that was my revelation this week. I'm just fed up, and I just went, enough. And you know what? I also don't even need to comment, right?
No.
That's the thing. And you mentioned this before about this. We feel this desire to have our say. Well, maybe saying nothing is okay.
Yeah.
Like on the race stuff, right? And this is, I don't like being, like this being pushed into a corner to say something. It's like, well, no, I'd like to consider my thoughts and consider my opinion. I won't be bullied into saying anything, even if I agree. I will not be told what to say. Or what to think. And that's where I go, no, like if you think I'm racist, prove it. Right. And
but also what I've come to realize is if you think I'm racist, nothing I say is going to change it anyway.
No, that's right.
So you've got to say at some point, you will think what you think.
Yeah.
And I cannot do it. And I'm fully aware that any attempt on my part to refute what you've said, you'll probably just take as proof that you're right.
Yeah.
So
the white fragility
there's no
loop
value
is
for
bullshit.
me in arguing with you.
Yeah.
I know who I am, and the people who know me know who I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
People who actually know what I'm about.
Yeah.
But it just, and it's gotten to the point now where you'll get policed for who you follow on Twitter. You'll get policed for tweets that you like. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
There's not, and we don't have to do that thing of, just because you like it doesn't necessarily mean you endorse it. No, we don't have to respond to that at all.
No.
We don't owe you an explanation. I don't owe complete strangers an explanation about what I do on the internet.
Yeah.
I'm not here for
Boy
you.
George's response to Pink News was probably the best response I'd ever. Did you remember that? When they said, I think I won't quote directly. I don't know directly, but I'm paraphrasing. But it was basically like, there's no response because to give it a response gives the accusation. Like it's just nonsense. Basically it was just like fuck off, fuck off. And it's like, I think that's been my position for the last year. But the last couple of weeks, I've really observed it's just gotten insane. I know it's always been bad, but it's never been this bad. And they're drunk on their own power, right? Mm-hmm. They're running around like fucking newborn kids on milk, right? They're fucking drunken around like this. And then they're moving on to the next one, right? And it's just like, this needs to stop, right? And I think that I tried to just not say anything, and also not say, like with the Chris Deeley thing, right? Everyone's, pile on Chris Deeley. I think the screenshots are fake.
This is something that I actually don't know much about, that I've seen mentioned, but almost mercifully have not delved into. But I understand he's been accused of things.
Yeah.
I didn't really know who he was until this blew up.
He's pretty much an unfunny US comedian who's kind of part of the club. So, but what, your middle-aged comedian grooms 17-year-old girls. First of all, that's not pedophilia. Second of all, right? Like, I know it's not.
That was 17.
It's a questionable line, but at the same time,
this is what I call being a sleaze.
Yeah.
I would just like to point out for people, and this is something too, and I don't want to have a go at I don't want to have a go at Hannah Gadsby. She's fine, but in Nanette, when she talked about Picasso's affair with an underage girl, I live in a country where 16 is the age of consent.
Yeah,
and I happen to think that's okay.
Yeah,
and so
we're going to get fucking hammered for this.
Anyone who isn't lobbying to have the age of consent raised really shouldn't go around calling it pedophilia for something. I mean, men are going to be attracted to 17-year-old girls their entire lives. The only way we can be slightly less gross is to be self-aware enough not to pursue that attraction in real terms.
Exactly.
Otherwise, we're sleazebags, and he's a sleazebag, and I don't have a problem with sleazebags being called out for being sleazebags, but call it what it is.
Destroy somebody and defame them. And also, one thing I did say was that some of these screenshots don't look legit. Like, and I'm the first person. It's like, I don't know if you saw my interview with Mikey Harlow like a few weeks back, but doctored screenshots of him and like Blair White where they just fake it and put it out there, and it's not true, right? We need to be aware of this stuff, and it's also like, sorry.
Doctoring it's not hard to do. It's not hard to doctor a screenshot.
No, but it's also not hard. I actually was talking to Paul about this, but I'd quite like to keep my Twitter account. But what I thought of doing was actually just showing by cancelling myself how easy it is to do. So what I would do is find an old tweet, find some old video, take it out of context, go and get a sock script, right? Get a troll, get the troll army, and I could trend, get myself cancelled, right? Easy on Twitter. You can game that system with a developer account and a bunch of sock accounts and some footage. Get yourself, and you just get one or two retarded blue checks to believe it and spread it and start making whatever. It's easy to do, right? Yeah. I wanted to do that, but then I'd get banned, and I don't, I quite like having my account, but it's the thing is, people need to understand that these things can be done, and it's easy to do that. And like during when the riots were happening, and they had people believe that they like signal blocked all of Washington and shut it all down. Remember Washington DC? That's what they do, right? And it's like whether it's an accusation or a bullying thing or even the J.K. Rowling thing, right? A lot of that is bots.
Yeah.
That are just fueling this. I mean, yes, a lot of it's despicable, but a lot of these things are bots. And it's like people really need to understand this stuff and know that you can spread disinformation within 6 hours. You can have something trending on Twitter with the right tools, right?
People will only ever believe that is done by their enemies.
Yeah, exactly.
They never believe someone on their side would make use of that kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, of course they do, all the time. But so you've gotten a bit fed up with the whole because Josh Thomas was funny because of the coon cheese thing, like just before. There is a little bit of joy in it, but at the same time, it's like, for fuck's sake.
What's amazing is that in this time when Black Lives Matter is at its greatest prominence, and there are riots in the US, and there are dreadful things, going on with police violence, and there are these issues coming to the surface that should have been on the surface for a much longer time.
Yeah.
The amazing thing is how many people have been driven by these really real serious crises to focus even more on things that don't matter. We're obsessing more than ever over the trivia.
Yeah.
And it's weird how the actual prominence of
the lives of the thing that matters
is making us even more trite.
Yeah.
Because who gives a fuck about coon cheese?
Yeah. Also the fact that, do you know what pisses me off? It's like, get your facts right. If you have an opinion, that's cool, right? Yeah. Like, I got pissed off with YouTube, saying that Marsha P. Johnson was a black trans woman. That's debunked. You can look on the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, this is information that is easily available.
You guys are apparently the purveyors of disinformation. Like, you guys are apparently the censors and deciders of what's true and not these days. And yet you can't even do basic fact checking on something like that, right? And it's like, but, like the coon cheese, it was named after Edward. It was named after the name of the guy who fucking made the cheese, right? Yeah. It's like, that's the thing where I've, over the last couple of years, committed to only saying things that I believe, and that I know are true, and that I have all of the facts on. Right? Not always. That's not always the case. I'm often not. Don't always behave myself, but like, have
the humility to recognize when you just don't have a clue.
But I actually am just learning to not speak on things more.
Yeah.
And that's why it looks like I'm only speaking on 2 or 3 things. But you know what? I only know 2 or 3 things well.
It is hard. It is hard to point out. You said earlier, that you decided to try to be better.
Yeah.
And that, you failed later that day.
Yeah.
But it is hard. And I've been thinking about kindness and how important I think it is to be kind, and how much I want to be kind, but also how difficult it is. It's not easy to be kind to other people. It's easy to be kind to the people you like and the people who never piss you off and never make you want to scream.
And who aren't calling you a cunt and hurling abuse at you and using every emotional blackmail trick in the book to call you a bad parent and transphobe and, all of these things, right? It's pretty hard to show temperance.
Obviously, you don't have to go around telling everyone you love them, but it is hard to adopt an attitude of kindness and giving people the benefit of the doubt. It's really hard to do, but I think it's worth trying to do. And I think there are a lot of people who would say it's not worth trying to do. And I think it's a shame. I think there's a lot of people who would say that kindness is complicity in bigotry or something.
Or they use kindness as a gaslighting tool, which is that feminists get the kindness, fucking be kind, to shut down debate all the time, which is that if you disagree, you're not kind. It's like, no, kindness is not agreement. Kindness is patience and trying to understand your point of view, right? It's fucking hard.
Yeah. I just think, you don't have to agree with everyone. You don't even have to like everyone. But part of it is what you say, is not learning not to say things all the time.
Yeah.
You don't have to attack people even when you feel like it.
And we're not perfect, right? No one's perfect.
No one's perfect. And
I'll probably go on a tirade in the next couple of hours because,
it greatly frustrates me, actually, how many people who make a big deal out of claiming that people will always talk about social justice, racial issues, gender issues, etc., and say, hey, it's all a process. I'm still learning to be a better ally. I make mistakes, I slip up, but I'm committed to being better. They say things like this, and they don't extend any mercy to anyone else. They never see someone else say something they find problematic and say, oh, well, they're still learning. Let's be compassionate. Let's be patient with them. No, patience and understanding are for me as I go on my journey. Yeah. You're not on a journey. I'm just going to try and take you out of the picture completely.
Well, this is the thing, right? Oh, we've got a bit of muddiness going on there. That's right. The consequentialist deontological debate, which is whether it's the belief or an intent or the behaviour that you judge, right? What makes a good person, right? And I would argue that there's a large portion of people who strongly believe that they are right and their behaviour is abhorrent, right? And I've always been more of the view that the ends do not justify the means, and that I think that intentions do matter, and intentions matter, right?
Yep.
But behavior ultimately, and how you treat others, is something. It's okay if you don't know. Like, if you don't know that if you make a mistake and you didn't know, when you're presented with evidence, right, that you have maybe made a mistake, or it's how you respond in the moment to that. I think that really determines character, right? I'm quite happy to admit when I fucked up or lost my cool or was wrong or backed the wrong horse. You know, this whole gender stuff, I'm quite if there's suddenly a magic scientific paper that suddenly says that it's all true, right, tomorrow, I will go, I was wrong. I apologize, right? Please stop punching me. I mean, do you think the J.K. Rowling thing is like really, has it gone mainstream? Because I'm very online, so for me it's really hard to tell.
No, it's hard for me too. I think
surrounded by nerds.
Look, I think that there are a lot of people who are being introduced through the J.K. Rowling issue to an issue that they really had no idea about.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people will actually see what J.K. Rowling said and not understand why it is so evil.
I've had quite a few messages between this and all of the race stuff, where suddenly you are racist by default, and suddenly you have all that nonsense, that woke nonsense, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have been sort of messaging me behind the scenes going, "Oh, I see it now. I see it now." It's like this weird culty thing going on that's like doesn't make any sense. I was like, I've been telling you for like 3 years now.
But of course, people don't know that, because most people are just getting on with their lives, and so all they know is that there are some people. They're like, okay, well, these people are anti-racist. Okay, these people are for transgender rights. Those are good things.
Yeah.
That's fine. That must be good. I support them. But only in the sense that I will say I support them because I've got a life to live and I've got other shit to do. Yeah. Most people do have other shit to do.
Yeah.
And most people just want to get on with their lives, and most people are extremely tolerant and accepting of all other people.
Exactly.
But
they don't realise
everyone will have their little prejudices and stereotypes that are ingrained in them that maybe they need to do some work on getting out of their systems.
Yeah.
But most people do not have a great amount of ill will towards their entire groups of other people.
No.
But equally, they have their lives to live.
Yeah.
And the most important thing to them, the most important thing to 99.9% of the human race is just getting by and making sure their family is okay.
Yeah.
That's what matters to people.
Yeah.
If you try to tell people to stop caring about that kind of thing and care about something that they have never heard of before, and
But I think that's why this stuff is so ugly, though, because it does. Your ability to survive is really the thing that the mob can just suddenly arbitrarily come after you and lose your job, lose your life, lose your network, lose friends, lose family, and it's just so awful.
And
right?
I think the consequences of that kind of the things that can happen to someone because of that.
Yeah.
And I think for me to admit that a person deserved that to happen to them, wow, they would have to be incredibly bad.
Yeah.
Just well beyond the bounds of probably even the worst person I've seen on Twitter.
Yeah. Is this because people? It seems to largely come from people who've never been in that position.
Well, it is a privileged thing. It is a very privileged thing to not know what it's like.
Yeah.
For instance, to lose your job, or
to not know where your rent's coming from.
Not know what it's like to lose your job and have no safety net.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it can happen. I think I would love to some of the dog pilers, the social justice types, I would like
They all watch my channel, Ben.
Sorry?
They all watch my channel. Because they're so open-minded.
About what I'd like to do.
Open-minded and ready to
hear
hear
them directly. I know they're not here. What I would like to do is simply show them someone whose life has been genuinely ruined.
Yeah.
And say to them, okay, what's the level at which you would say a person should have this done to them?
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
How bad do they have to be before, or what's the minimum level of wrongness that a person should have before you decide, yes, I want this person reduced to nothing?
How racist do they need to be from a score of 0 to Justin Trudeau? How much blackface do they need to do?
This makes me think of this Washington Post story in the last couple of days.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Where it's been revealed a couple of years ago, a woman had blackface at a Halloween party. It's such a weird thing because she was actually in costume as Megyn Kelly doing blackface. And it's like the world has gotten too fucking meta for me. But the point is, she did it. She's been exposed. She's lost her job. Everyone hates her. And it's like, what good did that story do? No one knew who she was.
Yeah.
She's not Justin Trudeau.
No.
So her life has been ruined.
But he's the hero.
A whole bunch of people have had to look at and hear about blackface that they wouldn't have if the story hadn't been done. Where are apart from the Washington Post, which gets more clicks, where are the winners from this? In what way has this advanced any cause? It's just destroyed someone, probably distressed a whole bunch of other people for no reason. Yeah. There's no reason. There's no public interest in that kind of thing.
No.
And that's what disappoints me. I mean, Justin Trudeau appearing in blackface, I don't really care what he did, but there's a public interest, obviously, in saying the Prime Minister of Canada did some things. There's no public interest in just someone doing those things.
The thing that annoys me is the hypocrisy, which is that there's someone that they basically worship, right, in plain sight. They standing Justin Trudeau. I've done a lot less blackface than him, but they're calling me a racist. Do you know how much blackface I've done? 0.
It reminds me.
Do you know how many times I've thought of it? 0. I don't even wear bronzer.
I think that's true of me.
Yeah.
Too. I don't think I've ever considered putting on blackface.
No.
Actually, that's not true because these days I consider it all the time because it keeps going through my head. I keep thinking, how can I subvert this? How can I do this cleverly? It reminds me of Louis C.K. before cancellation, when he would do an awful lot of rape jokes. And there would always be think pieces written about how can we stop comedians doing rape jokes, and they would always mention Louis C.K. in the context of, but see, he does it in the right way. But there was no real. I mean, the real difference between Louis C.K. and the other comics who were criticising is that, apart from the rape jokes, Louis C.K. was taking broadly the right, left-wing positions, and they were sort of more old-school righty comedians who were being called out for it.
Yeah.
The rape jokes themselves were never that different. But it was Louis C.K. And not just on that. Louis C.K. was always held up as the paragon of, here's how you do these sensitive issues properly. So I guess Justin Trudeau's like that, you know. Hey, Justin Trudeau has shown us how to do blackface in a sensitive way. I don't know.
Yeah, but Louis C.K.'s alt-right now, so...
Yeah, he is.
Apparently.
And it's interesting. I wonder how different he actually is.
I don't think he's any different. Did you watch it? Did you watch the special?
I didn't watch the whole thing.
It was awkward as shit. It was really awkward. I felt for him.
I mean, there's an elephant in the room, isn't there?
Yeah. And he did address
It's tricky. From a comedic point of view, I don't envy him the task of deciding how much do I address this and how much, what is the best way to proceed.
Yeah. I think he just had to break the seal, so to speak, like on the whole thing, and the next special will be good. I think he just needs to he needed to get it out of the way.
Well, in a way you got to do that. But
like,
the Louis C.K. thing reminds me a lot of how people, after he was, disgraced and he went away for a while and then he came back, and there was this whole debate over how soon is it right, should he be allowed to come back? And it's like, well, we don't have control over whether someone goes out and tries to get gigs. The owner of a club can decide to put him on or not. An audience can decide to laugh or not.
Well, that's the thing. That's the culture that we're talking about, right? Is that there's a group of people who've appointed themselves in charge of who can and can't work, who can and can't speak, what we can watch, and if it is watchable, then they must explain it to us beforehand, because we're so stupid that we can't figure out that slavery is bad and this is an old movie. Like, that's
really incredible, isn't it?
Like, I remember when, like, we were fighting this on behalf of the Dixie Chicks, and it was the Christian evangelical Christians.
Yeah.
Right now, it's fucking.
I don't know if you've seen this, but apparently now the Dixie Chicks are under pressure to change their name because Dixie is racist.
And Nelly's like, get fucked.
There's no way to satisfy them. What it made me think of, though, is that there is a corollary that is accepted. There's a logical progression that is broadly accepted now, which is someone does offensive, racist, sexist, homophobic, whatever thing. Therefore, they should not be allowed to work.
Yeah.
They should lose their job. And that's a non sequitur. There is actually nothing to say. If someone commits a crime, they should be arrested. If someone, for instance,
with evidence and due process,
obviously, if someone,
I'm saying, like, even just this mob rule bullshit, right?
And if someone is at work actually doing things, harassment or assault or violence at work, obviously they should be removed from that workplace.
Yeah.
But there is no logical progression from, say, Louis C.K. was horrible to women, therefore Louis C.K. should not work as a comedian. There is no logical progression from this person said a racist thing, therefore this person should lose their job. That's a non sequitur.
Yeah.
There's no connection. There's no moral principle that says badly behaved people need to suffer.
That's just bullying.
Consequences of that kind.
Isn't it ironic, though, that it's the left using capitalism as a weapon?
Yes. But that's what we do. That's why the most
private companies can just do what they want, Ben. Global corporations can do whatever they want. Twitter can do whatever they want because they're a private company. Like, when the fuck was that a left-wing view?
That's what they say until it goes the other way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like,
that's not a left-wing view.
Can do what they want, and then it's like, Facebook.
Regulate Facebook.
Facebook bans a page. Well, they're a private company. They can do what they want. Facebook says Donald Trump can say what he wants on Facebook.
Burn him.
Suddenly it's like, no. Facebook has a responsibility.
Yeah.
Well, which one do you want?
Yeah. It's the lack of consistency that frustrates me, coming out of people who claim to be experts. Like, this is the thing. The last 6 months, I had no idea how dumb so many people were.
Yeah.
I know that sounds bad. And they're probably not dumb in the sense that, like, I'm sure they're clever.
They don't lack intellect.
They don't lack intellect, but it is just, you remember the Flat Earth documentary? Oh, I mentioned this with another interview. Remember that Flat Earth documentary on Netflix, where at the end there's that scientist that said, these people are scientific, they're actually smart people and scientifically minded.
Yeah.
They've got it so wrong.
Yeah.
And that's what I think it is. It's like all this social justice, critical theory nonsense. I come from that department. It's that they've got it. It's all wrong. We agree on the diagnosis, but the cure is not.
When I was at uni, I studied medieval history, and of course, that included the history of witchcraft
Yes.
accusations of witchcraft and hysteria over witchcraft. And it occurred to me then, and I remember putting this forward and, being quite proud of myself for having this thought, that we look at that superstition and stuff like that as the opposite of scientific logical thinking. And yet back then it probably did seem they were probably being as utterly scientific. They were looking at things that happened in their lives and trying to find an explanation for them.
Yeah.
And that was the best explanation they could find, that there were witches, poisoning the water or turning, drying up their cows' udders or whatever. Witchcraft was a perfectly reasonable explanation. It's only as human knowledge progressed that we realised, okay, that's not the best explanation for this.
And yet here we are in 2020.
But you can follow perfectly logical pathways.
Yes.
And if you
leap in the wrong direction,
if you don't start with the right premises, this is basic logic. You can have a completely valid argument that is still not a sound argument because the premises are false.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
and you can make data. I mean, I saw Hassan Minhaj, the show, and he just put a graph up, it actually made me laugh, right? Because he put this graph up, which was basically like poor people who don't go to college and they die, and people who do die young or something. I can't remember what it was, and people who do go to college die less. And I'm sitting there going, what? So there's no other thing. There's no other. That's like, is that the level of fucking insight that we're getting with data these days? It's like correlation is not causation here.
Well, here's the interesting thing.
Somewhere along the line, people stopped learning how to read data.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing that when you look at the population of Catholics and you look at the population of Protestants, Catholics, families that are Catholic, tend to have a lot more children in them. So it's interesting to note that having children causes you to convert to Catholicism. So there must be something about the Catholic faith that when you have a lot of children, it appeals to you more than if you don't.
God makes more children. It's that simple.
I don't know. I feel like I've been very earnest, and I hate being earnest, but
no, be fun. Yeah,
I've seen people being actually hurt by this.
Yeah, I know.
And a lot of people will say when it happens, I mean, I will admit the worst elements of I don't like the term cancel culture. It's a shorthand for what we're talking
bullying.
about.
It's a euphemism for bullying. It's actually just bullying. Yeah.
So the worst elements of it are things like poor Justine Sacco on the flight to Africa, she's just an ordinary person and she was destroyed for no good reason.
Yeah.
But when it does happen to like famous, prominent people, a lot of the time the call is, oh, they're fine. They've got money. They've got their career. Nothing bad has happened to them because of this.
That's not true.
But being smeared has consequences. Always.
Yeah.
A reputation matters. It matters if you are accused of being a rapist or a pedophile or a bigot or a Nazi. It matters even if you don't go broke from it.
Yeah.
Going about in the world knowing that there are thousands of people who think you're evil incarnate. That is a consequence.
Yeah. And most celebrities aren't as rich as people think.
And that's especially true in Australia, of course.
Yeah. I think your average TV writer probably is not earning a living wage most of the time.
They're not. But that's why we have to compete so strongly by trying to get our rivals cancelled.
Yeah. I like to build rather than destroy. I think that's sort of where I need to be.
Oh well, you're out of sync with the times, aren't you?
I know. It's called maturity, being old.
Yeah.
I hate this. I realised this the other day, and I'm sitting there going, where are the adults in the room? Where are the adults? And I was like, I'm 41 years old. I think I'm actually expected to be an adult right now. And people, it's like, I think we're just lacking.
Thing that's really hard, though, isn't it?
Yeah. But, I think it's okay to have a conversation like this and try to do better. And maybe everyone, I've been, it's like maybe just say behind the scenes to people, like, that's not okay. We shouldn't do this.
I guess what it comes down to for me is that we think about individuals and groups in different ways. And some people think that all that matters is being nice to people in person. And people think, there are some people who think, oh, it's okay to sort of hate entire groups of people as long as you are polite when you meet them. But other people go the other way. And other people think, as long as I am kind in the sense of pursuing justice for groups, it doesn't matter how awful I am to actual individual people. And I think
Scientology feel that way too.
Yeah, they both matter. They both matter. It matters to treat people well on an individual level as well as trying to improve things for people on the group level. They're both important, and we can be kind to everyone, even while we, do call out those people who are.
But even if it's okay to have a joke, right? That's the thing. It's like no one's saying. See, this is the thing. Like, what do you think about this, like Fawlty Towers, Little Britain stuff, right? Because that's what we were initially going to rant about, right? Now, John Cleese has been smashing it, which is great, and as always, he's on the money, right? Grumpy old man, don't give a fuck.
The Fawlty Towers thing infuriates me more than anything, because it wasn't a huge thing. It's like, okay, this one episode, I think they ended up putting it back. In the end, there weren't terrible consequences. But the whole point is that there were so many people thinking, oh, it's a good thing, they should get rid of it. The sequence that caused it is a sequence where the N-word is used.
Yeah.
But it's also a sequence
by Major.
in which obviously the N-word is used in a context to say the person who is using it is horribly wrong, horribly out of touch.
An old war veteran who's a racist.
It's mocking that. And in fact, that episode, the Germans, the joke in that one sequence is pretty much the same joke on Basil at the end of the episode, which is, these are people, these dumb, ignorant, bigoted British people who are incapable of moving on from the past.
Yeah.
The joke is on them.
I know.
And I refuse to accept, no matter who tells me, I refuse to accept that jokes making fun of racism are racist. I refuse to. I can accept, look, the blackface parts of Little Britain are the worst parts.
Still funny.
I don't like it. Well,
I'm sorry. Still funny. Still laughed. It was ridiculous.
Little Britain is very, very funny.
Yeah.
There's a couple of sketches that use blackface that aren't funny, and I'm like,
no. But the bubbles is one of the funniest.
Oh, that's true.
It was meant to be ridiculous. But that was the thing. I won't defend it. Anyway.
What I think about, though, is the sketch where the woman played by David Williams, who
ding dong, whack a ding dong.
She vomits uncontrollably whenever she finds out she's been in contact with an ex-convict or a lesbian.
Yeah.
Or in one case, a black man. She finds out she's eating, cakes made by a black man.
Yeah.
In fact, in one, she's eating something just because it's made from a recipe by Ainsley Harriott, the black chef.
That's right.
And it makes her vomit. And I actually saw someone complaining that this was racist to put that sketch. And it's like, this is explicitly anti-racist material.
Yeah.
You can't, I will draw a line and say, I am not going to accept that comedy about racism should be struck off.
But I tend to be probably more more absolutist when it comes to freedom of comedy, because comedy is the canary in the mine for all other speech. And if you can't joke about certain, you know what I mean? Like, I think that comedy it's not like is comedy the exception? Yes, I think the comedy has to be the exception.
No, I actually agree. And look, the thing about comedy is we are all free to say that's not funny, or
and not watch it,
or even that's racist, I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah,
I don't believe that it necessitates lobbying erase it. I mean,
No.
it's like the other thing. It's a non sequitur to say this comedy is racist. We need to erase it from history.
Yeah.
That doesn't actually follow.
No.
But
also,
part of the reason it doesn't follow is that other people may well think it's not racist.
Well, and the thing about
no
Fawlty
one
Towers,
has the definitive opinion.
But that the thing that's interesting about Little Britain is that there are it literally skewers everybody. Like Anne, you know, the idea that someone is in a nursing home and faking it, right?
Yeah.
That's not offensive. You know what I mean? Like, what is it? You know, it's like, well, what this?
Although, I mean, the interesting thing
either
about
everything
that
is offensive or nothing
is. Who say it is offensive. There are definitely people who say it's offensive on the one hand because it's making fun of disabled people because they haven't understood the sketch. But there are also definitely, I promise you, people who claim that sketch is promoting the idea that disabled people are all faking it.
Yeah. And Lou and Andy.
The ridiculousness. You can always find something to find offensive.
Yeah,
and that's
but making fun of like Wiki.
That's not to say, hey, everyone should do blackface because it's fine and no one has a right to be upset. It's to say you can't ban things, you can't delete things, you can't wipe things off the map based on subjective views of offence.
Yeah.
You can be
well, you know
offended.
that Tropic Thunder quietly disappeared from Netflix. I went looking to watch it because I was like, oh, we'd better watch that before it gets banned.
That is one of the best movies I've ever seen, and it is genius.
I know, and it's like everyone's going full retard at the moment, so it's just...
And it's like, we have to, I mean, if you want to make fun of stuff, you have to depict it in some way. Yeah. Otherwise it's not comedy, it's not satire, it's just saying what you think.
Well, have you seen some of this like woke comedy shows that what they think of what they think is funny?
And the worst trend in satire is the satire that flinches and it breaks character, if you know what I mean. It's the satire where they're so afraid that people won't understand the point. They have to explicitly spell it out at some point, and that kills it. It kills it if you have a satire of, a satire of right-wing politicians, where the right-wing politician at some point, metaphorically winks to the audience and says, "This is what I'm actually trying to say."
Yeah, but because they think. When I say they, I think we're talking about kind of this monolith other of insufferable wokes, right? We're generalizing, of course, but
they think we're idiots.
They think people are stupid. They really, and I actually, that's the thing. Like, I had a big thing with a friend, a former friend now, obviously, because I just couldn't get over